Anakin Skywalker's fall to the dark side is one of the most tragic and dark storylines in Star Wars. From his harsh upbringing as a slave on Tatooine, his training as a Jedi where he was told to bottle up his emotions, the death of his mother at the hand of Tusken Raiders, and the idea of losing Padme. But the darkest part of his journey to the dark side has to be the slaughter of the younglings at the Jedi Temple. In a matter of hours, Anakin went from a selfless hero of the Clone Wars to a Sith who had just done the unspeakable. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how Anakin's grandson, Jacen Solo, traveled back to the past and saw Anakin's dark deeds unfold. So, who is Jacen Solo and how did he see his grandfather turn to the dark side? That doesn't really make sense. Let's briefly take a look into Jacen Solo's past to explore what led him to watch his grandfather murder younglings, which partially led to Jacen's eventual turn to the dark side. Jacen Solo is the son of Han and Leia. He was trained at the Jedi Academy under the tutelage of Luke Skywalker. Jacen is a very interesting character who's always had an interesting relationship with the Jedi and the Force. As his character progressed, he felt like he was slowly becoming more Qui-Gon than Qui-Gon, if that's even possible. During the Yuuzhan Vong invasion, Jacen Solo was captured by the Yuuzhan Vong and groomed by Vizir, a former Jedi who became a Sith. After the Yuuzhan Vong invasion, Jacen went on a 5-year journey throughout the galaxy where he studied under all sorts of Force users who taught him different skills, unknown to basically every Jedi. One of those being flow walking. I'll get to that in a minute. He eventually returned and started working with the new Jedi Order once again. Now at the beginning of the Legacy of the Force series, we see Jacen's slow transition into the Dark Lord Darth Caedus. Jacen was groomed again by another Sith, Lumaya. In the first novel of the series, Lumaya had told Jacen that it was his destiny to become a Sith. Our story takes place in the second novel after that. In that novel, Jacen Solo uses the skill flow walking to view Anakin's turn to the dark side. He does this to help answer some of his own questions about his own journey into becoming a Sith. Now before I read the passage where he views the past, let me quickly explain flow walking. Flow walking is an interesting ability that allows one to view the past and future and occasionally alter it if they are proficient enough. Some Force users would use flow walking as a way to touch the Force by flowing along its currents and reading its intentions, thus transcending time itself. They could mentally project themselves into the past or future and essentially walk back in time. Pretty cool, right? This ability was taught to Jacen by a group of aliens known as the Aang Team Monks while Jacen was on his journey. So now that we've gotten the background information out of the way, let's read the passage. This part of the story takes place while Jacen is walking around the Jedi Temple. Jacen knew exactly where he was now, and it scared him. He had a finely tuned sense of where he was in space. Had he rolled back time by 59 years to this exact distance from the planet's core, this exact distance from the planet's North Pole, this very point in 3 dimensions, he would have been walking with his grandfather Anakin Skywalker. But I can walk back in time. Jacen could time drift. He was almost too afraid to, but he did, almost without thinking. As he projected himself into the past and merged with its reality, he saw a young blonde Jedi with his lightsaber drawn, flanked by troops in white armor. Jacen was looking at him from behind. He could see the muscle in his jaw twitching as his head turned, seeking something. He could feel his dread and determination. Nobody spoke. They were searching. All of them. Looking to one side, then the other, aiming rifles and lowering them a little. Something terrible was happening. Anakin Skywalker held his lightsaber two-handed, and for a moment, Jacen was one with his grandfather's emotions. He was overwhelmed by a dread and reluctance, the same dread and reluctance he had felt himself when Lumaya had told him his destiny. Jacen felt, too, a crushing sense of something terrible and deadly was about to happen. He hung back. He'd been spotted while time drifting before, and he had been forced to withdraw. But he had to stay with this. He hardly dared to think ahead. I might be able to ask him, might be able to ask grandfather about his own fall to the dark side. This would be his answer to his own path. He touched Anakin's emotions again, comparing them with his own, and he felt something that was not within him at all. It was a desperate, terrified loss. For a second, he couldn't identify it. Then it settled and became clear in the form of a tight sensation in his throat, and the pressure of tears behind his eyes that stung and burned. It was very like the very misery he had felt when he left Tenel Ka and his daughter. Anakin was facing separation from Padme and was terrified by it. But it wasn't a moment's emotion for his grandfather. It was the whole of him. Anakin had been driven to the dark side by agonized love. The revelation stunned Jacen because it was so narrow, so selfish. Relief flooded him. This is different. That isn't what I feel or what's been driving me. And right then, he wanted to talk to his grandfather more than anything he could imagine. It was a burst of love for a man he'd never even known, a man who had helped bring balance to the Force. You're insane. Don't even think about influencing the past. But he had no idea what the past really was. Right up to that point where he saw the younglings approach Anakin, scared but clutching their lightsabers, telling him that there were too many soldiers for them to drive off. Anakin stared down at them, then drew his own saber, and Jacen tasted absolute grief and shame and duty. He was hunting Jedi. He was killing them somehow for Padme's sake. His reasoning was vivid and focused. Jacen knew Anakin had done this, but seeing it, feeling it, living it was agonizingly new and shocking because the emotion was so desperately animal in its intensity. No, I'm not feeling this. It's one of Lumaya's vile tricks. I'm not seeing this. Then, one of the armored troops appeared, raising his rifle, and Jacen jerked himself out of time and back to the present, heart pounding. After this, Jacen reflected on what he had just witnessed, and on his belief in the differences between their two transformations. Jacen believed that the two of them were different. He wasn't giving in to the absolute madness that Anakin was. Jacen believed that he could handle what was happening to him. He believed that, in his own words, he could become a Sith without the fear of being sucked down into something evil, which is incredibly ironic if you ask me. But the thing is, Jacen didn't really want to become a Sith, but he believed it was his destiny and was necessary. You see, while there were many reasons for his turn to the dark side, one of them was that while Jacen was training, he had seen a terrifying vision of the future, one where a dark man was sitting on a throne, surrounded by many beings, and next to him was his future daughter, Alana Solo. So part of the reason he wanted to become a Sith was to take that man's place, basically becoming evil to stop something worse from happening. So in a weird, twisted way, Jacen's transformation wasn't selfish, at least not until the end, but instead was for what he viewed was for the good of the galaxy, which is very different from most Sith. That right there is one of the many reasons that Jacen Solo is one of the most interesting characters in all of Star Wars, in my humble opinion. The level of complexity that went into writing his character is absolutely sensational, especially in the New Jedi Order series and the Legacy of the Force novels. So if you haven't checked those out, I definitely recommend doing that. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope it was insightful and entertaining. May the Force be with you, and have an awesome day.